Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since the August 2019 season. And you can follow along as we march forward through another offseason together. As always, you can find our 100% free around the clock boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars on social media such as Facebook and Twitter every single day at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Welcome to today's episode, the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Today we are going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars drawing the Los Angeles Rams for their annual game in London. The Jaguars will be playing the Rams in Week 7. The NFL officially announced on Tuesday, with the Jaguars now set to play the Rams for the first time overseas. The game will be at Wembley Stadium, and there's a few different aspects to this. Obviously, first and foremost, this is one of the most fascinating games on the Jaguars schedule for so many reasons. And that's not even counting the fact that it's overseas. That adds another layer of intrigue to it. Perhaps even makes it a little bit more of an equalizer than it would have been if the Rams were having to come, to Jacksonville. They have an even longer trip now to London, etc. It's, I believe, their first game there since 2019. I do think that they won there in 2019, so it's not as if Sean McVay and co. have never done this, but still, nonetheless, the Jaguars ultimately are doing a lot of things both on the field, with their coaching staff, in the front office, the scouting department, that closely resemble the Los Angeles Rams. That's not a secret. It's not a negative. I've said before on this podcast, as you guys have heard, that it's a positive in my opinion. The Rams are one of the best organizations in sports. Why not try to build like them? Jaguars tried their own version of the Seahawks build, and turns out without prime Russell Wilson and several potential Hall of Famers on defense, it doesn't work quite as well. They tried going with the relic 49ers style build. Didn't go very well either. So I think, the Jaguars are going to try to build and resemble a team. Why not resemble a good one? Why not try to duplicate actual greatness? And that's what they're doing with the Rams. I personally see the Rams as one of the marquee franchises in the NFL. I think, just from a general point of success on the field, how good of a head coach they have, how good of a GM they have. Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens are probably in the top tier, even though I'm not a huge Sirianni guy. Obviously, Howard Roseman, Jeffrey, Lurie, etc. But I'd say the Rams are right there with those teams. They've excelled at making bold and aggressive choices. They've excelled at hirings. They've created a coaching tree. They've created now a general manager tree, with Brad Holmes and James Gladstone both working, for a long time under Les Snead. They hit on first-round picks. They hit on mid-round picks. They hit on late-round picks. They hit on undrafted free agents. They've won the Super Bowl. They've been to another Super Bowl. And even in times where it looks like they might be rebuilding, they are still taking the eventual Super Bowl champions down to the final minutes of a playoff game. So I think if you're going to try to build to be like any team, it makes a lot of chance to try to build to be like the Rams. Obviously, with Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, even other people on the staff, Shane Waldron, especially, it makes complete sense that the Jaguars are trying in many ways to do it with their own way, their own spin, what the Rams are trying to do. So I think, Liam Cohen as a first-year head coach, it's only in the second month of the regular season of his rookie year against the guy who brought him into the NFL and Sean McVay. I think that's a fascinating matchup. A team that James Gladstone has started to construct. It's not all 100% his team yet, but he's definitely put his fingerprints on it, especially with the Travis Hunter trade. Against, of course, Les Need's team, I think that makes a ton of sense. On top of all of this, of course, the Jaguars will be able to play the Rams again early on in the season in Cohen's tenure. And this could be a true benchmark contest for the Jaguars. We don't know the rest of their schedule yet. Obviously, we'll know it tomorrow night. We'll have a podcast taking a look at it once it's announced, etc. And we will know exactly how the opponents, I guess, line up for the Jaguars in terms of who are their toughest opponents early on. Because I think if there's any time where it might take some transition for a new regime, a new coaching staff, a rookie head coach, etc., it would be early on in the season. So I'm interested to see who all they play really in those first 2 months of the season. But right now, the Rams, to me, is a benchmark game. How good are the Jaguars at that point with Liam Cohen? If the Jaguars can go into England, London, and defeat the Rams, who, for my money, are the number 2 team in the NFC heading into the season, and not very far behind the Philadelphia Eagles as the number 1 team, it'd be a giant statement victory. I mean, just imagine the Jaguars pub if Trevor Lawrence goes head to head with Matthew Stafford and Liam Cohen goes head to head with Sean McVay, and the Jaguars win. Imagine if Travis Hunter is instrumental in that win. James Gladstone's massive trade helps Jaguars beat former mentors and, NFC West favorites. It'd be absolutely massive for the Jaguars. So I think it's an interesting game that we're going to see over there. Of course, always on the flip side is, okay, that means one less home game for Jacksonville in terms of one less appealing opponent, but is what it is. I do think the good news for the Jaguars is obviously that they are not having to play in London for 2 weeks like they did in the 2023 and 2024 seasons. I know they were 3-1 in London during that span, but it just seems like it is better for everybody involved, with the team, etc., that it's just a 1 week thing. So we will see how it all looks moving forward. We will also know more about the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule on Wednesday evening. So please make sure that you stay tuned for that. Go ahead and give us a follow, subscription, review, whatever you have to do at Spotify or Apple Podcasts at the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. And you can also find all of our videos, all of our podcasts, press conferences, interviews, whatever you want to call it, at YouTube at Sports Videos on SI.